Today we are going to study about loops. In C, we have three types of loops. One we call as for loop, and another we call as while loop, and a third one we call as do while loop. What is a loop? It is a way in C programming by which we can execute a statement or a number of statements, a group of statements multiple times. So if I have a statement or a group of statements and I want to execute it multiple times, then I use loops. Instead of writing that statement repeatedly, I write that statement once and then I use certain keywords and they help me in the keywords with the logic helps me to repeat those statements the number of times I like. So to do the same thing, we have three different ways, and one is called the for loop, second the while loop, and third the do while loop. The format for the while loop is for loop is the format for writing it is for, then we do an initialization, then semicolon. So this is the syntax of for loop. To run a loop, we require three things. First, we need to initialize that loop. The second, we need to put certain condition that will tell how many times the loop has to run, how many times we want the loop to run, on what conditions we want the loop to run, and on what condition we want that the loop should stop running. And the third is change, which may be an increment or it may be a decrement. So if there is some variable which we are using, so increment means increasing the value of that variable, maybe by 1 or 2 or any other number, or decrementing, which means decreasing the value of that variable by any number. So to run a loop successfully, we need these three things. Let us have a look at the format of while loop. To write a while loop, what we do is that we write while, the keyword while, then we put a condition here then the curly bracket which represents the body of the loop, and we have we are done. This is the main the way of writing while loop. Whatever is inside a loop, that is called body of a loop. For example, inside the for loop, if I write something, this is called body of the loop, or we may also call it conditional code. So the code that is dependent on the condition for running. Again, here in the while loop, we will have body of the loop. But since for the successful running of a loop, we need three things, and in while loop we find only one, that is condition. The other are there, but they are not necessarily the part of loop. So for initialization, we usually do it like this. That is, the initialization is done before the start of the while loop, and the change is done usually inside the while loop. So the change will be inside anywhere depending on the logic of the logic. So this way we have all three things: initialization, condition, and change. Coming to do while loop, the format is, for do while loop, the format is write do, then start a curly bracket, then obviously inside the curly bracket there will be body of the loop, and here we write while, and then obviously there will be condition there, then a semicolon. So this is the correct way, this is the way to write the do while loop. Again, if we see, only the condition thing is there. So again, the initialization of the loop will be done before the loop usually, and the change will be somewhere inside. The change that is to be done, that will be somewhere inside. So this will be the format of the do while loop. Let us do some examples. Let us take one example and try to solve that example, try to implement that example using all three loops. So first of all, let us take the for loop. So let us say that I have to print integers from 0 to 9. So the problem at hand is that I have to print integers from 0 to 9. But first I will do this thing using for loop. So let me say I have a variable int I, which I will use for the loop. So then let me write code for loop. Before that, I may write clear screen. Then let me write a for loop. Then the first thing there inside the for loop will be initialization. So let me initialize I with 0, because I have to print display from 0 to 9. So I will initialize the loop with 0. Then there is a semicolon. After that, I have to put the condition. So the printing will start from 0, then 1 will be printed, then 2, 3, up to 9. So it should not exceed 10. So the condition here will be that I should be less than 10. So as long as I is less than 10, you keep on printing. Okay, what is the change? It will be an increment, because first we will print 0, then a higher value 1, then 2, then 3. So first print 0, then increment to 1, then increment to 2, increment to 3. So there are two ways of incrementing, doing a single increment. Either I write I plus plus, which means that I is to be incremented by 1 at a time. 0 will become 1, 1 will become 2, like this. There is another way. We can also write I equal to I plus 1, which again means the same thing, that I have to increment I by 1 at a time. So both ways are correct. So since I have written all three things, initialization, condition, and then change, now I can start the loop and write the body of the for loop. What is the body? The work we have to do. The work is printing. So I will printf, I will write printf percentage %d. What I have to print? I have to print the value of I. And once you print the value of I, you may close the loop and you are done. And we may also write here get che. Okay, what is the meaning of this loop now? It means that start the value of I at 0, then go here to the body of loop, print that I. So 0 will be printed on the monitor. Then it will go again to for, because this is a loop. This will again go, the control will go after print, the control will again go back to for. After reaching this this thing, curly bracket, the control will go back to for, and then the condition will be checked. So what is the condition? Okay, I'm sorry. First, it will be the first time it will be put to 0. At that time, the condition will be checked that is 0 less than 10? Yes, it is less than 10. If it is less than 10, then printing will be done. So the 0 will be printed, and then the loop will again go to for, and then this increment will happen. This increment will happen. Why will this increment happen later? Because it is I plus plus, which implies that the value of I will first be used and then it will be incremented. So the value of I is printed and then it is incremented. Had it been plus plus I, that would have mean that first the value of I is to be incremented and then this printing is to be done. So because this is I plus plus, which means that first do this printing, first initialize, check the condition, do the printing, then come back, then increase the value of I by 1. So this I will become 1. From 0 it will become 1. So again the condition will be checked. Is 1 less than 10? Yes, true, it is 1 less than 10. Since this is true, again the body of the loop will be executed and we will get 2 printed here. Again, when this is done, it will iterate and go back to this place, the control, and will again increment I. It will become 2. 1 will become 2 by I plus plus. Again, this condition will be checked. Is 2 less than 10? Yes, it is true. It is less than 10. So 2 will be printed. Next time, 3, it will become 3. 3 will be compared with 10. Is 3 less than 10? Yes, 3 will be printed. Then 4 will be printed. Then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then 9. When we reach 9, 9 will be compared to 10. Is 9 less than 10? Yes, it is. So 9 will be printed. Then next time, 9 will, because of increment, 9 will become 10. At that time, 10 will be compared with 10. Is 10 less than 10? No, it is not. 10 is not less than 10. So when the condition becomes false in a loop, the loop breaks out. So the working of loop is always such that when the condition becomes untrue, when the condition returns false, so 10 is not less than 10, this is a false condition, this is untrue, then this loop will exit. It is done. So the control of execution will reach here at this position, this, where there is the cursor. So just after the loop, the execution control will reach. Now the loop is done. So since after that we don't have any code except that get che, that means we are done. Let me put a little space here so that the numbers, there is a space between numbers. After percentage %d, I have inserted a little space so that after each printing there will be a space on monitor. There will, to prevent jumbling, let me first save this program. I may call it as for loop.c. Let us compile this program. So it's okay. Let us run it. After running the program, we can see it has successfully printed 0 to 9. So in this way, we can use loops to print numbers to do innumerable other jobs. Had we not used this loop concept, we would have to write printf0, printf1, printf2 like this up to printf9. So we prevented that repetition and we eased things for us using this concept of loop. Let us now print numbers from 0 to 9 using while loop. So let me write the initial code. So let me take a variable, an integer variable I. Then let me write the while loop. So while loop, I write like this while. Then I put a condition. So since I have to publish print number from 0 to 9, so I have a starting point. I have a starting point that is 0. So initialization is a must. So I have to start I from 0. So the initialization I am doing before the while loop here. And then I equal to 0 initialization is done. Now let us put the condition. What is the condition? It should be less than 10. So the loop will run up to what point? It will run up to 9. So which is a less than 10 integer point. It will run up to there. What is the body of the loop? The body is that I have to print something on the monitor. So what is that something? That something here is I, the value of I. So it will become the 0 will be initially printed. Fine. So initially the value, what will happen? Initially the value of I will become 0. Here I have done an assignment I equal to 0. Then this is initialization. Then the condition will be checked. Is 0 less than 10? Yes, this is true. It is less than 10. Then since the condition is true, then only the body of the loop will be executed. So the body of the loop says print f that I, which is 0, so 0 will be printed. Next time I want to print 1, so there must be an I equal to I plus 1 here, which is the condition, which is the change, that is the increment. Instead of I equal to I plus 1, I can also write I plus plus, which is the short format of I equal to I plus 1. So now we are done. We may write this thing get che, and we have written the format of the while loop. We have done the initialization, the condition check, and then we have also done the increment thing. Let us save this program as while loop.c. and let us compile this program. So okay, now let us run this program, and it is showing 0 to 9, but it is they are concatenated with each other. There is no space in between, and it is also showing the results of previous execution. So we need to do two things, two changes in the code. First, we need to put a clear screen here so that the previous results should not be displayed, and also we need to put a little space here after %d so that there will be a space when the numbers are displayed on the screen. So this way I will use the Control F9 key to run the program, and the answer is what we sought, what we were after. So 0 to 9 is printed. Now let us do the same thing using do while loop, the third type of loop, that is the do while loop. So we have to print integers from 0 to 9 using do while loop. So what will we write inside main? Initially we will take a variable, an integer type variable I. Then after taking that variable, we since we have to do a do while loop thing, but obviously we need an initialization. For a do while loop, the initialization is before the loop. So I will do an initialization from 0. So I am starting from 0. Then I will write the code do, then the format is do, and then there will be the end at a certain point, then the while, and then the condition. So the condition I can write here. If I write I less than 10, then there is a semicolon here. Okay, what is the body of the loop? The body of the loop is I have to print the value of I. I have to print the value of I. That is the body of the loop. So this is the code for do while loop. We can have a look at this code, and what will happen? Initially the value of I will be put to 0, then there will be no condition check. The value of I will directly be printed. So unlike for and while loop, Do while loop does not check the condition for the first time. Here we can deduce an important point that whatever be the case, whatever be the condition, do while loop will execute its body at least once, which is not the case in for or while loop. In for loop and also in while loop, that if the condition is false the first time, the body of the loop will never be executed. But here, even if the condition is false the first time, the body of loop will still be executed once, because the condition is always checked at the end. So what should be the answer here? The first time it will be 0, I will be 0 and 0 will be printed. Done. Then the condition will be checked. Is 0 less than 10? Yes, it is less than 10. Since the condition is true, this loop will restart and go here, and again I will be printed. So we also obviously need an increment here. If we don't put an increment here, it will be 0 printed numerous times. So we will put an increment, the condition thing by which I will be incremented after every step. Okay, after that increment, it will become 1 and 1 will be printed here. Done. Then it will become 2. So 2 is less than 10. Yes, 2 is less than 10. Done. It will go here and 2 will be printed. Likewise 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 will be printed. Then when 8 will be printed, I will become 9 after that. 9 will be checked. Is 9 less than 10? Yes, it is true. 9 is less than 10. So the control will go here and 9 will be printed. After that, it will be checked that it will become 10. So then it will check whether this 10 is less than 10. No, it is not less than 10. When the condition will be false, the loop will exit immediately and the control will reach here after the loop. The control will reach here. The loop will be exited. So let us save this program. So let us call it do while loop dot c, and let us run it. So we can see the answer is 0 to 9. Thank you.